Harambe the gorilla and the shooting at the Cincinnati Zoo. Well, this week we take you to one of my favorite places in Arizona, the Wildlife World Zoo. Welcome to the Mike Broomhead Show.
Well, I got a message, I got a song. Can I get a witness? Tell me what's going on. Show the people I've been away.
A really sad story out of the Cincinnati Zoo where a 3-year-old gets into an exhibit where there is a live gorilla and they have to put the gorilla down. We're going to talk more about that later on in the show, but we're going out to the Wildlife World Zoo this week. It's one of my favorite places in Arizona to go. Broomhead's best, and of course, hashtag this, but we start every show off with something we call the sweep. Well, the election still front and center. Donald Trump versus the press. It's something you either love about Donald Trump or you hate about Donald Trump. There's really not much in between. Donald Trump, when you go after him, he comes right back. He is never going to go quietly into that good night. Donald Trump was talking about the press this week, specifically when he came out with the list on Tuesday of the veteran organizations that he gave the money to that he raised and how much he gave each organization. He is accusing the press of intentionally lying about the money, about what he did, what he was going to do, and he defended himself. But he doesn't just defend himself against the things they say. He goes back after people. I want you to see a little piece of what Donald Trump had to say about the press.
People know the stories are false. I'm going to continue to attack the press. Look, I find the press to be extremely dishonest. I find the political press to be unbelievably dishonest. I will say that.
I got to tell you, I don't necessarily disagree with Donald Trump. People bring their biases in, which, I do an opinion show. I get paid to give my opinion on things. I never claim to be a journalist. I will tell you that it's my opinion. Now, I think I'm right. It's my opinion. But I'm not bringing you what's supposed to be unfiltered reporting. Now, Dan Rather's career was ended because Dan Rather used what he should have known was false documents about the service in the military of former President George W. Bush. And just recently, Katie Couric had to admit that she lied and she altered a documentary to make gun rights advocates look like they couldn't answer one of her questions. At first, she said she stood by the editing, and a week later, on a holiday weekend, she came out and said, I take responsibility. I've got some personal interaction with her. She did it to me when it came to the war effort. So she is someone that claims to be a journalist. She's not a journalist. She gives her opinion just like I do. She says that she's doing news. It's opinion. So when Donald Trump says that they're dishonest, I think what they're dishonest about is that they're saying that what they're giving you is reporting as opposed to opinion. Everybody lets some of their opinion leak in. Donald Trump is not going to back down. Now, Hillary Clinton, this is fascinating. All the candidates were asked to fill out a quiz from a transgender organization. Trans United, I think, is the name of the organization. Sounds a lot like an airline to me. But Trans United is a fairly new organization. You go to their website, there were a lot of unfinished pages. And listen, the transgender community put out, or this organization, a questionnaire and asked all the presidential candidates to fill it out on where they stood on transgender issues. It was 12 pages long. Bernie Sanders filled it out because he's got plenty of time on his hands. Hillary Clinton did not. So the transgender community very upset with Hillary Clinton. I don't know why. 12 pages of nonsense arguments. Now, I'm not mocking people that are transgender. I think transgender people have as much of a right to know where people stand. Everybody puts out a voting guide. One of the examples I give you is in the state of Arizona. There's an organization called the Center for Arizona Policy. They are a Christian group, and they put out a voter guide about candidates. They put out a questionnaire. They ask candidates where they stand on the pro-life issue, the pro-family issue, and then they rank candidates that way. So if you align yourself politically with CAP, you would go to their voter guide to see where candidates stand. Everyone does it. But this organization put out a 12-page questionnaire. One of them was about illegal immigrants and does a candidate believe that illegal immigrants should be able to be in this country? Well, it was assumed that they should be allowed to be here even though they're here illegally, but they should be able to assume the name and the gender they identify with as opposed to the one they were born with. I don't know what that has to do with being president, but Hillary didn't fill out the quiz. It's the one time I think ever that I have defended Hillary Clinton against anyone. Next, the attack at the Cincinnati Zoo. there was a gorilla that was with a 3-year-old. I don't know that I would call it an attack, but a 3-year-old got through a barrier, fell down a 4-foot embankment, and then another 10 or 12 feet into a moat where they keep silverback gorillas. They were able to distract a couple of gorillas with their favorite snack, but a big male gorilla named Harambe got to the 3-year-old, and at first it was kind of a quiet interaction, but eventually he got very aggressive, and so they had to put the gorilla down. Now, I want you to see this because the director of the zoo is talking about what a sad day it was. Listen to the reaction from the zoo of the killing.
It's a sad day all the way around. The right choice was made. It was a difficult choice. We have protocols and procedures. We do drills with our dangerous animal response team.
Now listen, this gorilla, it had to be put down. When it comes to a choice between a human life and an animal, you've always got to choose the human life over the animal's life. And you could see he's very distraught. This is a 17-year-old gorilla. The protesters that are angry that that gorilla was euthanized as opposed to using a tranquilizer, you don't think that they would have done that if they could have? I want you to see one of the protesters. I'm telling you, this comes many times from a place of ignorance. But look at this guy.
We're seeing here is a facility with a pattern of violating a federal law. And in this situation, that violation led directly to the death of Harambe.
It also led to the saving of the 3-year-old. Did anybody not get that? We're going to be out at the World Wildlife Zoo today, Wildlife World Zoo today. We're going to go and see them, and you're going to really love this place. And if there's any doubt in your mind that the people that own a zoo, the people that work at a zoo, care about the animals that they care for, they are so well treated, they are so well kept. If you don't think the directors of that zoo love that gorilla who was 17 years old, you're crazy. They didn't want to put that gorilla down, but what choice did they have? If you go online, and we didn't play any of the video, or I don't want to play any lengthy video of this, because this gorilla, it's scary. He drags that 3-year-old through this water like a rag doll, and it's a scary thing to see. Finally, before we close it out, measles in Arizona. 11 confirmed cases out at the Eloy Detention Center for immigrants here in Arizona. I believe it was 4 of them are inmates, 3 of them employees. They're expecting that to spread. They want to keep that contained as best as they can. Well, in just a few moments, we're going out to the Wildlife World Zoo. I want you to see one of the great places in Arizona. You want to go someplace great with your family, interact with the animals, and see where animals are very, very well kept. It's one of my favorite places. You're going to love it. It's coming up next. And by the way, social media users, find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, and you can always email me here at the station. We'd love to hear what you have to say about the show. We'll be back in a moment. One of my favorite places to come. We take our grandkids here. My kids have been coming here for years. It's the Wildlife World Zoo, and I'm with Emily. She is the curator and sea lion manager, and this is?
Crockett.
Crockett is amazing. We have been watching this for a while, how interactive. Now, how long have you had Crockett here at the zoo?
Crockett has actually been here for 2 years. He's 3 years old, and he actually came to us from SeaWorld.
Now, he does some amazing things. He's a big animal, but look how friendly, and it's almost like he's standing there posing with us.
It does look that, and he actually created this pose all by himself. So it's not one of the behaviors that we trained, but he's 300 pounds, and he might seem friendly, but we build a strong relationship with these guys through positive reinforcement. And so most of the behaviors that we all ask for, he's learned just through positive reinforcement, just by us asking and then rewarding him with his favorite treat of fish.
Fish, what kind of fish?
Capelin, herring, and squid.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Now, show us some things that Crockett can do.
Well, so some of the beginning steps of training is actually just asking them to touch our hands here. Good job, bud. And then we can give him some fish. And then you can actually see how we can shape some behaviors by asking them to follow our targets. Good job, bud. And that could probably turn into even a head nod yes. Do you want to toss him one?
Yeah, sure.
And so we also have a target pull that is an extension of our hands, where we can hold a target pole, a long one up top the ship deck, and ask him to touch it so he jumps out of the water. And then pretty soon we can phase out that target pole and just ask him for a jump.
And can you show us? Can you show us the jump?
We can, yeah.
All right, I'd love to see it.
Yep, no problem. Kaylee, do you mind going up to ship deck? 300 pounds needs plenty of room to get up and out of the water. So I'm actually gonna ask him over here from this glass. And the hand signal for it is just a right hand to your forehead, and then we just throw it up to the sky. And the hand signals don't necessarily matter. It's just one that we chose that's really fun to work with.
All right, let's see it. I
All
can't
right.
wait. This is Crockett, and he is going to show it. He's going to show us what a jumper he is.
Mike, you wanna ask for the behavior?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Just right hand up to your forehead, on a count of 3, toss it to the sky. 1, 2, 3. Good job.
That's amazing that an animal that size can get out of the water like that.
It is amazing. Yeah, these guys, woo, he's splashing around for you. He can actually swim about 13 miles per hour. And he actually seems pretty quick on land as well. They can rotate their bottom flippers actually underneath their bodies to support themselves as they walk across land, which is the difference between seals and sea lions.
Can we see what he's like on land? Can you show us?
Of course, I'd love to show you
Okay.
guys. So you can see he's pretty powerful here as he can rotate those back fins all the way underneath his body. Good job, bud. Water. Should I ask him to come right back down this way?
Sure. And it's pretty amazing how big he is, but how docile he seems to be.
So all of our training with these guys, we make sure that we encourage them to interact with us at a safe distance. So every single time that we step up to them through all of our training sessions, what we reinforce is that good distance apart from us. Crockett here will probably be 800 pounds.
Wow.
And so now is the time to start with what we just call manners. Just learning that this is my personal space, that's his personal space, and making sure that we're reinforcing the behaviors where it's a good distance.
I have some grandkids you might be able to help me with manners. And
Anything that eats can be trained with positive reinforcement.
There you have it.
So if it's a good enough cupcake, you can train.
this is why we love this place so much. If you haven't been out to the zoo out in the West Valley, you've got to come out and see it. Emily, thank you, and especially the star of the show,
Yes,
Crockett.
thanks so much,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
You.
We'll be back. You know, one of the cool things about it, here we are in Arizona, and you have an opportunity to interact with some sea life. Now, growing up where I did in Florida, you see me wearing my Miami hat today, we interact with stingrays all the time. You see them on the beaches. But where in Arizona can you actually interact with such animals? Bring your kids, it's safe. You can feed them. I'm going to show you how you feed them. Put your hand inside. Let's see if we can get one of them over here. It's one of the coolest things you get to do. The aquarium is air conditioned, obviously. They have the sharks behind me in the tanks. Matter of fact, we're going to go into Dylan's restaurant here, best barbecue in Arizona. We're going to have lunch in there, and you can have lunch right where the aquarium is. And if you don't think the kids go crazy seeing all the fish, it's just one more opportunity you have to be in Arizona in the desert and interact with animals you're never going to see anywhere else. It's one of the reasons why we love it here. So let's head inside of Dylan's. We're going to grab lunch, and we're going to talk to Christy from the zoo about everything we've seen today and kind of catch up on what's going on here. So stick around. All right, and if you're worried about the heat in the summer, we've got the perfect answer, Dylan's Barbecue, and I'm here with Christy, who is the head of media relations here at the zoo. First of all, thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming out.
We have been coming to the zoo forever, and then we come, we enjoy the day at the zoo, and then we always end up here at Dylan's. And what's crazy is this aquarium.
That's right. This shark tank that's right behind us is amazing. Where else in Arizona can you dine next to a shark tank? It's actually 60,000 gallons.
We come and we're lucky enough to sit kind of in this area, but anywhere you sit, you're by the tanks. And so the grandkids are always wanting to know where the food is, never a peep. They're stuck against the glass.
Right. It's great for kids to keep them occupied while you're waiting for the food. And it's fun because you can also dine out next to the flamingos, especially if you're out with the family, you want to break away, have a drink. There's a nice little bar out there. It's really neat.
Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen today, because we've been around and we only covered a small area of the zoo, but we saw the rhino, which is amazing.
Yes.
That is such a cool, and it's huge, and you can get so close.
Absolutely. That's one thing about Wildlife World that we really try to achieve, is that you can get really close to the animals. And we try to make the zoo as interactive as possible, because that's what's going to inspire children to learn, to want to conserve animals out in the wild. And these animals' futures actually are in these children's hands.
Now, you've actually had some animals here that were born here on the property, but then have gone on to other zoos. I got to meet a lion cub. That was pretty cool.
That was so cool. We have a excellent hand-raising staff in our baby animal nursery. We raise lots of different animals here. The climate here in Arizona really lends itself to African and Australian animals because it's a climate so similar to their own climate, and we're able to be very successful in these breeding programs where other zoos might not have that same success.
A lot of people, this zoo has become so well known now because it's grown so much, but it's been here for a long time.
We have. So this zoo was actually started by Mickey Olson over 30 years ago. It started out very small. We have so many loyal people who come out because every time you come out there's something new. This zoo's constantly expanding and improving. We actually just opened Adventureland, which has over 100 new animals, 4 new rides, a Mexican food cafe, and it's a lot of fun. There's a family roller coaster back there, a zip line, and a vertical swing that will take you up 100 feet high. The views you get of the West Valley are unbelievable.
It is, what I love about it is the mixture of animals you don't get to see anywhere else, but then some of the domestic things, and you can learn about the Arizona animals and some of the things here that are native here to Arizona as well.
You can. So with the expansion of Adventureland, we really wanted to have animals from North, South, and Central America. So people could see the native animals that we have. And then as you go out through the zoo, Safari Park has a lot of African animals. We have our safari tram that actually takes you in the exhibit, which is so cool.
It was great because while we were on the ride, the ostriches actually come right next to the tram, and they're such cool animals, and to be able to be that close is pretty amazing.
It is. People are so surprised when they're riding the tram. They don't expect the animals to be right there, and they are. And right when you get off the tram, you can go feed the giraffes, and that's a great way to connect children with animals because you cannot duplicate that experience by watching TV or going on the internet. It's something all on its own to be able to feed a giraffe, have its tongue wrap around your hand, look at it in the eye. That child's going to keep that memory for a lifetime.
My kids loved animals growing up, and then they've kind of passed that on to their kids. And what's cool is you can kind of foster and watch that grow because it's so interactive. To be able to take, I grew up in Florida, so to be around stingrays and to be around fish to me is not foreign, but to watch them in Arizona be able to interact with the stingrays and feed them, it's cool for them to be able to get that experience in Arizona.
Right, it's really an oasis here in Arizona. There's nothing like it here. And with all the interactive things, you need an entire day. A lot of families like to come out in the morning, spend the time in the zoo, and as it warms up, you can make your way to the buildings because about half our species are actually indoors.
So what do you recommend for families, or let's say like big groups? I saw a bunch of there were kids here for summer camp that were going on. If you groups that want to come out, what do you recommend for them? What's the best plan for them?
So the best plan of action is to definitely hit the zoo first. You're going to walk in, you're going to see everything as close to the 303 on the west side that you can. All the big cats that are over there, our baby animal nursery. We have a wildlife encounter show, so you want to see that. It's a lot of fun. The kids get to see the animals up close. They can stick around, ask questions. Around lunchtime, you want to hit the Lori parrot feeding. Very hands-on.
Yeah.
You get to go in there. It's free with admission. You get an apple. The lories swarm you. They're all over you eating. It's definitely a child favorite, and it's actually the first Lori parrot feeding in the country.
Now, you have a great experience here because of the animals that come to the property, but then you have a pretty good legacy of the animals that go to other places that have started here. And you're pretty proud of that here, aren't you?
We are. We're very proud of our breeding programs. We're able to contribute to lots of different species that otherwise wouldn't be in other zoos and wouldn't be ambassadors for children to see.
Okay, so if you're going to come to the zoo, now not all of you are going to get the tour we got from Christy, but you can go anywhere in the zoo really and have the same experience we did, because to be able to watch Crockett and the other sea lions that you have here and the tricks and the things they're able to do, but also to ride the tram or the train that goes around the park, you actually do get that close to the animals.
You do, and what a lot of visitors don't realize is after the sea lion show, you actually get the opportunity to feed the sea lions. So definitely stick around. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that. My grandkids love doing that. All right, listen. This has been the experience. We come 5-6 times a year. We come to the zoo. The zoo is located at the 303 in Northern. Dylan's Barbecue is right here on the property. I think some of the best barbecue in Arizona. You can't go wrong to spend the day here. And if you're lucky enough, you get to hang out with Christy and like we did, have such a great tour. We had a great time today. Thank you so much for having us out here. And everyone's here at Dylan's. You guys are just the best.
Thank you so much for coming out.
All right, if you're going to have an Arizona experience, it's got to be here. You've got to come out to the zoo. If you haven't yet, you've got to. What's the website? Do you have one?
Yes, wildlifeworld.com.
Wildlifeworld.com. Check them out on the web. Come out. You're going to find us at the zoo. We're here quite a bit. I'm going to eat some lunch. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Ruthie at Dylan's Gone Wild, and stay with us.
This time, it is really the best horrible situation. We call this segment of the show Broomhead's Best. Officer David Glasser of the Phoenix Police Department was killed in the line of duty, and to watch almost the entire state of Arizona come together, including the major sports teams, the Arizona Cardinal players showed up at the event, the fundraiser barbecue at the Phoenix Law Enforcement Association. They didn't do it with fanfare. They didn't do it with any press release. Larry Fitzgerald, as if we needed another reason to love Larry Fitzgerald, showed up to lend his support and give his condolences to the family. They met privately at the event, but lending the support on behalf of the Cardinal family. The Phoenix Suns Gorillas showed up to see the kids and try to put a smile on some faces while they were there. And the community at large at this event, just in the lunchtime period, over 3,800 hamburgers, countless numbers of hot dogs, and over 2,000 at dinner. In total, raised over $300,000 for the Glasser family. That's why they are this week's Broomhead's Best. Now, this is what's burning up the internet. We call this segment #this. #this, City of Gilbert accepts the Justin Timberlake Dance Challenge. The song is called Can't Stop the Feeling. It's got more than one Arizona connection. A friend of mine, right here from the Valley, named David Moskowitz, is in the video. You can see him. He's kind of the older guy, the big glasses, dancing in the video. Great guy. David Moskowitz is in it. But the town of Gilbert did such a great job doing and taking the dance challenge that Timberlake actually gave a shout out to the town of Gilbert. I know the mayor of Gilbert and some of the people that work in the city. It is a great town in Arizona. They got a great sense of humor. They don't take themselves too seriously. That's why they are this week's #this. So it's so much fun to see some of the great things that happen around the state of Arizona, both deserving this week of #this and Broomhead's Best. Coming up in a moment, we close out the show. And by the way, social media users, find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, find us on Instagram, and you can always email me here at the station. We'd love to hear what you have to say about the show. We'll be back in a moment. I hope today on the show you were able to get a better picture of people that work at a zoo and what it's like, how much they really do care for and love animals. And the reason is, over the last few weeks, we've talked about hunting on the show and what hunters and fishermen actually do to not only maintain the herds, but they do so much with the funding from the permits to make sure that people are paid that manage the game. And now we're talking about animals in a zoo. Animal rights activists would call them being imprisoned. As you can see, that's not the case. And the people that work in those facilities really care. But in the end, what we saw at the Cincinnati Zoo was the choice between a human life and an animal life. That doesn't mean nobody was saddened by the loss of this gorilla. Everybody was saddened by the loss of this gorilla. It was a sad thing that a 17-year-old gorilla had to be put down to save a 3-year-old's life. But there really was no choice in the minds of most people. Should the child have been in there? No, the child shouldn't. The parents are being investigated by the Cincinnati Police Department. There should be an investigation. But the fact is, the choice was simple. As sad as it was, as hard as it was to do, it was a no-brainer that you always save the human life first. It's only the extremists that would say that that animal deserved to live over the human being. It really is strange to me. It's all the time we have this week. We really appreciate the interaction from you. Hope you enjoy the visit out to the Wildlife World Zoo. We would love to take you back out there again. I love taking my grandkids, so hopefully we'll see you out at the zoo sometime. Have a great week, everyone. God bless.
Get more of Mike Broomhead on Facebook, Twitter, and of course weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 550 KFYI.